In addition to the item, yeah.
John, just look out. Was it a good meeting? Was it a good meeting in person? Really good. What did they say? Were they easy to talk to? Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the regularly scheduled Taber Town Council meeting for January 13th, 2020. And wishing everyone a happy new year. I trust you all had a very good holiday season, and wishing everyone the very best in 2020 as well. First, call the meeting to order, please, and ask for an adoption of the agenda as presented. Councilor Garner?
I move we accept the agenda as presented.
Motion on the table. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Item number 3, adoption of the minutes. 3.1, minutes of regular meeting of council, December 16th, 2019. Mr. Armfield.
Yes, the first order of business is to adopt the adopt the meeting minutes from December the 16th. If there's any changes to those meeting minutes, we'll perform that.
Thank you. Councilor Towns.
Item number 9, Community and Recreation Volunteer Policy, and it says in the minutes, Councilor or Corey Armfeld suggested a friendly amendment to include this would be the go-forward basis, and I don't believe it was Mr. Armfeld that suggested the friendly amendment. I believe it was you, Mr. Mayor.
Oh, okay. That sounds accurate, actually. You make that change accordingly?
Yeah. Do you want to accept them as amended? We can make that change.
Accept them as amended.
All right, all right. Once again, motion on the table. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 3.2, minutes of special meeting of council, December 19th, 2019. Mr. Armfield.
So it's the other meeting that you had in December on the 19th. Any changes to these, please let us know.
All right, thank you. Anything arising? Someone prepared to make a motion? Councilor Firth.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move to adopt the minutes of the special meeting of council held on December 19th, 2019 as presented.
Thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Item number 4, business arising. There are none. Item 4.1, response to council concern regarding school bus routes. Mr. Armfield.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Councillor Beckering had raised this item at the standing items at the last council meeting. I believe Mr. Lahiji has been working on this, and we've provided some written comments there for council to consider. Mr. Lahiji, if you might want to come up just to answer any questions that council might have.
Thank you. Mr. Lahiji.
Afternoon, Council.
Good afternoon.
Mayor. I have listed my research findings. Is there any item that you'd like me to clarify?
All right. Any questions arising from the research done as a result of our inquiry? Mr. Beckering?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Lee, as a result of your investigation and your communication with the people from the first student bus line, and they indicated to you that they would encourage the drivers to take a different route. Has that been occurring? Do you know?
I asked them, and that's what they offered me to do. And at that time, the school hasn't started. So this is the first meeting. If you would like, I could ask them. I would call back and ask them if that has happened. But as you can see through this research, they are free to go where they want to go.
Sure.
Mr. Stravas.
Yes, Your Worship. Can I ask Councillor Beckering to perhaps expand on this a little bit? You were the one that took this and brought this up as a standing thing. Like school buses travel on all of our streets in town. I'm not quite sure why this one is different from any of the others.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councillor Strovas, I was contacted by a resident on that avenue, on 62nd Avenue, and the person stated that lots of buses continually travel 62nd Avenue coming out of the bus barns on 50th Street. And that person's opinion that should be traveling on 64th, since that's a truck route. I did not know that buses were not governed by truck routes. I can recognize that, but I did not realize that. And the person who made the complaint did not recognize or realize that either. At the same time, I think it would make more sense for the buses to drive 64th Avenue as opposed to 62nd Avenue, unless they're picking up children on 62nd Avenue.
All right, thank you. Any other questions arising? Someone prepared to make a motion? Councillor Beckering.
Mr. Mayor, I'll move that council accepts the information provided regarding school bus route travel and thank administration.
Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. I don't know if I have bylaws. There are no bylaws to deal with. Item 6, action item 6.1, 2020 Coffee with Council. Mr. Armfield.
Yeah, I'm going to invite Ms. Brennan up to run council through this request for decision.
Afternoon,
Ms. Brennan.
Council. I don't have much more to add than you already see in your agenda, but obviously as part of your strategic plan, you considered Coffee with Council an initiative you wanted to carry on. And so now administration is asking if that includes 2020 as well. As you can see in your attachment, I've tentatively booked those dates for Parkside Manor. You're in no way beholden to those dates. We can change those, but they are the proposed ones. They take into account all of your meetings and your official meetings and your AUMA and items like that as well.
Thank you. Any questions arising or conflicting dates notable that you see? Councillor Towns?
Mr. Mayor, I'm prepared to make a motion
All right.
that council carries on with the Coffee with Council initiative and directs administration to book the dates and times for 2020 as per the attached schedule.
All right. Thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? You had a question?
I'm just, I've attended most of the Coffee with the Councils, and I noticed it's been really getting not very well attended lately, so perhaps we can do a better job of promoting it to make people more aware of it, because I think it's valuable. I think it's well worth it, but we're going there and we won't have anyone show up, which is kind of a bother. So maybe perhaps we could do a little more for advertising or make the
Do you
public
have
more
some
aware.
suggestions in mind?
I don't know, perhaps on our lights, or billboard out front, or on Facebook more. I don't know. It's not been very well attended lately, but I do think it is a good deal.
Has it not ended up on our billboard? I think it has.
It is on
Yeah.
our LED sign,
Yeah.
and we do post it on Facebook, but I could certainly do more.
I
Absolutely.
don't know really what more we could do.
Well, we can try. We can make it. We can do a number of different things. If you leave that in my hands, administration can do that on your behalf.
Okay, thank
I
you.
think, did we do a Tabor Times advertisement early on with that and then just didn't carry on?
We do a Tabor Times ad once a month, typically the week before the Coffee with Council week that occurs.
So that's normally in there every week.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Any other suggestions? Questions? All right. Someone prepared to make a motion?
I made the motion.
Sorry, you did so. Once again, motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 6.2, special event application. Mr. Armfield.
Yeah, this is a unique application coming forward. Ms. Hembro is going to come up and just present to council the opportunity and the request.
How are you doing?
Afternoon, Mayor and Council.
Good afternoon.
On December 3rd, we received a special event application to host a memorial barrel race at the old Pro Rodeo grounds. Due to this not being a typical rental, we are asking for the event to be approved, as well as the rental fee of $207.25 per day to be approved for this.
Great, thank you. Any questions arising? Councillor Towns.
I looked at this and thought about it, but now that they have cleaned up, the Pro Rodeo has cleaned up all of their stuff, and the application is put it on the Pro Rodeo ground. So were they just going to use what's existing there, or is there something else that we have to provide?
So they are asking that we provide the bleachers, I believe a few barricades and some garbage cans, but nothing more than that. They're bringing in their own porta potties and band systems and things like that.
Will they have panels, their own panels and whatnot, or?
I mentioned that there is no electrical out there, so that they would have to come up with their own servicing.
By panels, sorry, I mean for the arena. Will they supply their own?
I'm assuming
Yeah.
yes, because we don't supply that.
Yeah, that's just a question I had also. So they were looking at doing a temporary arena there for the actual event.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Thames.
And are they setting all of this up and taking it all down themselves, or are we're just supplying bleachers?
We're just supplying bleachers and garbage cans and maybe a few barricades, but other than that, they are doing everything on their own.
Mr. Mayor, if I could, at most rodeo things, there's an ambulance, and I'm not sure how that all works, but they have an ambulance or a first aid sort of standing on by, and have they contacted, it doesn't say in this application, but have they contacted our fire department to actually get permission from them to do this and have an ambulance on standby? Because I believe that's part of that whole rodeo situation, and I don't know for certain, but I think that's part of it. So
I believe it is part of the new application as well. I don't think that they have contacted them yet, but she wanted to make sure that she had the grounds first and then is going to continue the planning. But I can definitely bring that up to her as well, as that we could give them the contact.
Mr. Mayor, my concern is I think that I or T's got to get dotted across, that they have our emergency services notified first, that we know that this has been approved by them. If there's a conflict or something, I think that has to happen. I find it strange that it's not being held in the Agriplex that has all this facility and everything else, and just a request for a rental waiver more than to do something different. That's my only concern. And I don't have a problem with it, but I do have some concerns. Thank you.
Councillor Strauss.
Your worship, on the first page of their application, it's checked off that, that and noted that ambulance services is required. So it's part of the application fee. So I'm sure they'll go through that whole process once they know they can hold it there.
All right. Anything else arising? Councillor Brown.
Mr. Mayor, I think it's really good that we can use the grounds out there for something. I think this is a good thing. I do have some concerns about insurance and liabilities if someone's hurt on a horse, or is the town covered, or that's one of my concerns, just our liability.
I didn't look into liability yet for what ours would cover. But I
So
think
if someone was hurt out there, who would they, as long as they're insured for that?
yeah, I'm sure they would have to get their own liability insurance, but I can definitely ask if she's done that or if she plans on doing that.
I think that would have to be one of the conditions.
Sure.
And of course, the emergency services would have to be approved by our fire department. I think should be part of the motion myself.
Councillor Strauss.
It is covered in here. They've checked off yes to emergency services. I think we're beating it up too much here, folks.
Councillor Brown.
Okay.
Chief Munshaw, you had a question? Come on forward if you like.
Not sure. Why doesn't everybody talk?
Or the first aid section goes, they don't need to actually contact us directly. They can use an ambulance, they can use another source, whatever one they pick from, as long as it meets the requirements.
All right, any other questions arising? Someone prepared to make a motion? Councillor Bruin.
I can make the motion, Mr. Mayor. The council approved the special event application for Tara Halverson for the Memorial Barrel Race at the Old Rodeo Grounds at a rental fee of $207.25 per day. And the requirement of insurance and safety should be, I don't know really how to word that. The requirements for safety and should be met.
Councillor Bruin, would you maybe just put the requirement of insurance, because the rest is checked off? And I had looked at that, asked the question, but it's pointed out that it has been checked off. So I think just the requirement.
Oh, I agree with you.
Requirement for insurance.
Yeah. Oh, thank you, Mr. Thompson.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 6.3, annexation considerations. Mr. Armfield?
Yeah, council will know that at the beginning of January of 2020, there was a substantial piece of property that got brought into the jurisdictional boundaries of the town of Taber. With that, there is a suite of requirements that your administration needs to undertake. This request for decision is to bring you up to speed on what those items are. And Ms. Monks, if you want to just come up and present what these items are and how administration plans to address them.
Ms. Monks?
Good afternoon, Your Worship, members of council. Happy New Year. So administration has been reviewing internally the impacts to processes and systems that need to be updated in order to reflect the change to our municipal boundary. The MD is currently working on providing the town with historic files relating to the lands, including tax roll files, permitting information, and other records that they have. The GIS and emergency mapping systems have been updated, and the Taber Police Service and Taber Fire both have updated information and are able to respond to calls within the area. The trout pond and landfill site are both currently accessed via private roads, and road plans will need to be created and registered. This work is underway. ORSC has updated their files and are working with the MD to obtain their latest ortho image. Once the town has provided new tax roll numbers and addressing, we'll be able to upload the information into our ORSC GIS system. Public Works will update their operational plans as necessary for road and snow maintenance. For other services, things should not change for the landowners as identified in the annexation agreement. Finance will ensure that the tax bylaw is drafted in such a manner to assess and invoice the properties within the annexed area and collect taxes under the MD of Taber assessment process as per the agreement. A minor change to the recommended resolution in the RFD is proposed for clarity, and that's been provided for each of you today. Long-range planning of the lands will need to occur in order to determine council's vision for the areas identified and laid out. Administration seeks direction to begin this process in consultation with council. An amendment to the MDP will be required, as well as adding the MD land uses into the Town of Taber land use bylaw. So these are just some of the areas that have been identified as requiring action on our part, and we wanted to communicate to council for your information and awareness. If you have any questions, of course, we're
Right, thank you. Any questions arising? All right, Councillor Beckering.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It seems all very clear to me and prepared to make a motion.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I'll move that council directs administration to amend the taxation bylaw to include a provision for lands within the annexed area. Number 2, that council directs administration to begin planning for land uses within the annexed land and to report back from time to time on progress and for direction. Number 3, that council directs administration to amend the municipal development plan to include the annexed land upon the termination of land uses. Number 4, that council directs administration to include the MD tax rates within the Town of Taber tax bylaw in accordance with the annexation agreement.
Great, thank you. Motion on the table.
Mr. Mayor, I believe the item that you have read is number 4 was intended to be the new number 1. If I can get a nod from John. So you've actually, if the motion could be amended, which you just read out, to remove that initial statement that you made, that would have been number 1 off of the recommendations. The handout was to be in place of number 1.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make that friendly amendment.
I'll accept it, Mr. Mayor.
All right, thank you. Friendly amendment motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Good, thank you. Item 6.4, project update, regional skills gap study. Mr. Armfield.
Yes, and I believe Ms. Monks, you're staying up for this one?
So.
Okay, please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. Under the strategic plan, exploring post-secondary education partnership opportunities has been identified as a priority. As such, the town has entered into a community advisory committee with Lethbridge College and representatives from local businesses, the Chamber, Horizon School Division, FCSS, and Taber Adult Learning. In early 2019, a survey was conducted with a goal to get an understanding of the learning wants and needs of the people of the town of Taber and region. As part of this survey, and also in the consultation that formed part of our joint economic development strategy work, it was identified that businesses felt there was a lack of skilled labor available. Administration was exploring options to delve deeper into this area to determine the needs of employers with regard to education. Estimates for a survey to determine this were in the area of 10 to 15,000. Economic Development was approached by Lethbridge College with the suggestion to partner in a regional survey and project of the same type, utilizing a grant from Alberta Labour. The cost to join the larger project was $2,500, in partnership with Lethbridge College, Economic Development Lethbridge, Southgrow, and Alberta Southwest. The total project cost is over $100,000 and utilizes MDB Insights, who completed our joint economic development strategy. Our goal is to delve deeper into where there are gaps and how best to address those. This will provide us with greater clarity on how the partners can work collaboratively to address the region's workforce and training gaps. In particular, we'll be able to more effectively target resources based on the direct input of employers. We expect that this study will be used to inform how to assist the business community in the future, whether that's targeted advertising of a specific job sector to recent grads or providing soft skills training. The project will be launching in early February, and we hope to have a complete report in mid-September. So we're just providing that as an update and information to Council.
All right, thank you. Any questions arising? Someone prepared to make a motion? Councillor Garner.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'm prepared to make a motion that council accepts the information as presented.
Thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 6.5, PPAA Strategic Alliance. Mr. Armfeld.
Yeah, related in our economic development front, I think Mr. Ben Young is going to come up and discuss an opportunity here with the Plant Protein Alliance of Alberta, please.
Good afternoon, Council.
Good afternoon.
So yes, this item before you today is for the town to enter into a formalized strategic alliance with the Plant Protein Alliance of Alberta. So PPAA, I'll say for short to save myself a bit of time here. Over the last few years, the Protein Industries Canada, which is that federally funded supercluster initiative, has really been ramping up their activities. And in partnership, the PPAA has also been ramping up their activities as they're kind of the Alberta arm of PIC. And so in the last few years, Tabor Economic Development has worked very closely with PPAA on hosting events and doing workshops. Just this recent November, we hosted a Fractionation 101 workshop that saw about 40 people come out to the Heritage Inn to learn about fractionation and those opportunities here in the region. And the Plant Protein Alliance of Alberta has really kind of identified Tabor as a strategic partner, someone that they can work with in the future on different initiatives. So this strategic alliance is really kind of a symbolic partnership agreement, essentially saying that the town will work with PPAA on future events as determined when it's appropriate. This does not tie us to any financial commitments with PPAA, but allows the town and PPAA to frame future joint efforts. So at this point, we ask that Council authorizes the Mayor to sign the agreement.
All right, thank you. Any questions arising? Councillor Bruin.
Mr. Mayor, I'm prepared to make a motion that Council authorize Mayor Prokop to sign the Plant Protein Alliance of Alberta's Strategic Alliance Agreement.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 6.6, encroachment policy update. Mr. Armfeld.
Yeah, as part of the larger policy and procedure update, Rob Jansen from our Economic Development Department, Planning and Economic Development Department, is here to talk to you about, oh, that's the wrong one, the encroachment policy. There have been some changes here. I'm of the sense that there's been a few too many of these coming to council, and we wanted to have a way that I might be able to catch a few at my desk before they hit council's desk. So Rob, please take us away.
Sorry. Good afternoon, Your Worship and members of council. As was mentioned, administration is recommending an update to encroachment policy and procedure PLN-03. The policy currently requires every encroachment of 0.3 meters or greater to be reviewed by council. This has resulted in multiple encroachment agreements, even just in the last few months, coming to council where there's minimal impacts on or no impacts on town infrastructure or operations. As such, a key proposed change would be the removal of this 0.3 meter requirement and instead only forwarding encroachment agreements to council when, at the CAO's discretion, an encroachment may be impactful on town operations. This change would expedite the process and allow for more efficient use of council and administration's time, while still meeting the intent of the policy by ensuring encroachments are not impactful on the town operations. Note that administration will continue to internally circulate encroachments to other town departments for review. Other proposed changes include making town authorization a requirement for the rebuilding or repair of any encroachments, and allowing the town to require non-permanent encroaching sheds to be moved. A few formatting and grammatical errors were also corrected in this update.
All right, thank you. Any questions arising? Councillor Strauss?
I was just going to make the motion, but that's okay. I think Councillor Tams.
Can I have just a little bit of clarification on the wording town operations?
That would be, so it would include things such as getting garbage through the back alleys if there's encroachments that impede on that, or any general day-to-day activity if there's any hindrance that would make for more time or more difficult maneuvering abilities to access town-owned lands. That would be any impact. That would be included as impact to town operations.
That's all I want to know.
All right, Councillor Strauss?
Your Worship, I was just going to make the motion. I think this is something that's been long overdue, need to be cleaned up. I fully support this, that Council accepts and approves the updates to the encroachment agreements, policy and procedure, PLN-03 as presented.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried now. Thank you. Item 6.7, policy proposal for repeal. Mr. Armfield.
I believe I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Van Ham to present the next one, but we have a policy for repeal for your consideration.
Good afternoon, Council. This is one of the last ones that we had that's old holdout. I think there's only 10 left, but it's for your consideration for a repeal for this particular policy.
All right, thank you. Any questions arising? Fairly straightforward. Prepared to make a motion. Councillor Firth.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move the council repeals telephone answering festive season policy 44S-811218.
Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 6.8, whistleblower hotline. Mr. Armfield.
This is to inform council that there was nobody phoned the whistleblower hotline from October the 1st to December 31st, 2019.
Thank you. Any questions arising? Councillor Bruin.
Mr. Mayor, I can't remember. What do we pay for this whistleblower hotline a year now?
It's $5,000 a year for them to monitor it.
6, has it been 6 years we've had this now? 4 years?
Well, maybe even more than 6. It would be 6 or 7.
It's right when the last council came on, I believe.
Yeah.
But can we justify $5,000 a year for this? If we're like, it's something we should consider if we want to carry on with it.
Councillor Tams.
It's a good question, Councillor Bruin, and yet at the end of the day, the reason we do it and the reason we do it with a third party thing, and there's a cost involved and they have to do their thing, but I think it's the opportunity that a citizen can phone this number without fear of reprisal. And I know that there's a monetary thing attached to it, the $5,000, but I think it's well worth it that it is distance from council and distance from administration and distance from that. And I think we need to continue to do it for exactly that reason, because it's open, it's transparent, and people don't have to worry about reprisal. And I think we need to carry on doing what we're doing.
Councillor Bruin.
Just to follow up with that. So, yeah, no, I'll agree with you. I just think it's something that we haven't used. We're looking for cutbacks at maybe one area we could. And can the public phone this hotline, or is this just for town employees? And
any, Mr. Mayor, any member of the public, any member of council, any member of administration, this is a wide open hotline. We have actually had crimes been reported on this hotline before rather than 911. Not sure why the caller decided to go that direction, but they did. And it's been that criminal activity that TPS has acted upon. So it's never been used in the past, and I would concur with Councillor Tams with regards to why it's a valuable service for the town of Taber residents.
Great, thank you. Councillor Chavez?
Worship, just for clarification, I believe when we originally instituted this whistleblower policy and procedure, it was free to the town, but it was a couple of years ago that they put a fee on it, a minimal fee, and so it doesn't go back the full 6 years as Councillor Bruin here indicated. It's only been the last couple of years.
Sorry, I didn't mean to imply that. I realized it was a free program, that's why we jumped on it.
Yeah, I do believe that's accurate. I remember that when it first came out, it was exactly just like that. Councillor Beckering?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councillor Strowers is correct. I think it's not even 2 years, about a year and a half ago. I think the presentation made by the gentleman from MNP at that time, when we instituted the $5,000 cost of this program, there was a couple of things, additional things they provide, I believe. And I would like administration to just look that up and see if I'm correct or not. Because I think there's a couple other things they do provide for us.
That is correct. Yeah, this service was enhanced to allow for an online portal, reporting portal, not just a telephone. If you'd like a bit more details there, I can bring those back to you. But they expanded the program. Essentially, it was I know the town of Taber was kind of an originator for a municipality signing on to this product, and we created our own problem with the success of other municipalities also requesting for this service, and I think that's why the $5,000 fee was actually instituted, because a number of other municipalities then requested to fall under this umbrella of this program, and they needed some way to, add some scarcity to the demand, and so they instituted a $5,000 fee to it. But it was simply supply and demand economics that drove the $5,000 fee.
All right, thank you. Any other questions arising? Councillor Towns?
Mr. Mayor, I'm prepared to make a motion that council accepts the statistical report from MNP LLP regarding the whistleblower hotline ethics alert for the period of October 1st, 2019 through December 31st, 2019 for information purposes only.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 6.9, information for council. Mr. Armfield.
There's one item here that council should be aware of and consider providing some direction to administration. The program coordinator for the Trap Neuter Release program has indicated that she is no longer in a capacity to really look after that and coordinate that program for the town anymore. It was a program that was at arm's length from the municipality, in that there was a certain budget allotment that was permitted by council, that if a stray cat was caught, they could take that stray cat to a vet and get it neutered. And this program coordinator was essentially looking after that on behalf of the Taber Police Service, or in concert with the Taber Police Services. It's basically a bylaw function. We've been informed that the coordinator is retiring from that role. So the program is still in place. There isn't just somebody there that's really taking the lead and coordinating that on the town's behalf. The information is there in front of you with regards to what some other municipalities do, and we're just wanting to seek a conversation from council as to where we should head with this program, if we should seek another program coordinator for that Trap Neuter Release program, or if we should change that program and transition it into some other option that council may want us to pursue.
All right, thank you. Councillor Chavez?
Yeah, Your Worship, if you look at the statistics here of other communities that have it and don't have it, and the ones that are repealing it, I think perhaps it's time we repeal this bylaw and take it off our books.
All right, any other comments, questions? All right, someone prepared to make a motion? Mr. Armfield.
Yeah, so in the form of a motion that we'd be looking for tonight is just to direct administration to bring this back to another council meeting with some direction as to whether that's a repeal or or an amendment or further discussion?
I just, I don't know if I know we have a fairly substantial budget to deal with this sort of thing there. So I'm just wondering if we don't deal with it further, how that's going to impact the community as a result. Maybe it's not completely not a completely fair question in some ways, but there's obviously going to be some kind of impact as a result.
Yeah, I believe council budget's about $12,000 a year for this program. And given that there's no TNR coordinator in place anymore, a lot of these are falling to the bylaw officers to really deal with on a case-by-case basis.
Okay, so that would occur, then it'd go back in the bylaws' hands to deal with that accordingly.
Exactly, yeah. They're still, they own it, so to speak, within the suite of municipal services. They still have to honor the bylaw as it stands. So they're the group in the municipality that's looking after it right now.
Okay, very well, thank you. Any other questions arising? So with that, you heard the administration request for a motion. Councillor Chavez?
Yes, Your Worship, then make the motion that council directs administration to review the CAT bylaw number 3-2003 for some alternatives, including rescinding.
Brought back to council?
Brought back to council, sorry.
Friendly amendment? Yes, all right, thank you. All right.
And can we also add that we accept this item as information, so it's all covered in the same motion?
Accept that friendly amendment as well.
All right, friendly amendment by 2 on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously, thank you. Item 610, standing item, council requests. Mr. Armfield?
Yes, just as by way of cleanup, before I turn it over to council, the carpets have landed for the Civic Center, so we'll be taking that item off of the list. The other 2 items that are there are for the future. I'm going to turn it over to council to ask us any questions or give us any direction to the form of a motion.
All right, thank you. Councillor Bruin.
Mr. Mayor, if I could direct this to Mr. Armfield, could we get a update on how the fire hall is progressing budget-wise and on how the schedule is? A verbal report?
Are you looking for a verbal report?
A verbal report just to keep us up to date.
At this meeting right now?
If it's possible.
Is that possible, Chief? Sure, step up here and please.
Thank you, members council. As everybody's been aware, we've had some snow and we had some different challenges coming into this fall, but our group and our worker group was able to move inside the construction and maintain this on schedule timeline. We're looking at move in for June as of this year. Budget timelines as well have all been met, and we're all within our budget request by council. The final change orders and conditional orders will be done as the final amendments are done as the walls are getting rebuilt and changed over upstairs. But everything at this point is 100% within budget and within time frame of the 10-month build.
All right, Councillor Bruin.
Excellent, thank you, Chief. I had the opportunity to tour through the building that's being built now, and they're doing a great job, and there's a lot of work in there. Cement walls that weren't expected and things like that they came across, so they're doing a good job as far as I can see, and hats off to you guys.
Mr. Beckering.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Chief. Whenever I hear the word change order, it kind of piques my interest. Contingency-wise, how are we doing?
We're within budget. Well within the budget. The contingency was placed in of $300,000, and we are within that contingency. As anybody has looked at that building, it is a completely concrete building. Even the interior walls are concrete, and the door frames themselves were poured into concrete interior-wise. So it's definitely challenging, but we expected some challenges, and they're all within our expectations.
Mr. Mayor, follow up though.
Yes.
If you're within budget now and the contingencies are $300,000, do you forecast that you'll be within the contingency down to the end of the project?
That's what our hope is, within that contingency at the end of the project.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions for Chief Munshaw? All right. Any other standing? Thank you, Chief. Any other standing item council suggestions? Councillor Bruin?
I have one more I'd like direct to administration perhaps. Can we get an update on SEWA? See what's happening with that? And I've talked to a few people lately that are really talking a lot about generating electricity with their garbage. And have we done any research into that at all?
It's not part of our current suite of options for waste management. I believe that council has pulled out of that SEWA organization, but we could prepare, if council wished, an update report on the state of energy from trash and the SEWA organization. Certainly could.
Sorry, Councillor Bruin, I didn't catch your question about the energy ask.
Cogeneration with garbage, like generating power from garbage. There's been a lot of talk of that lately, and we're looking for a use for our garbage. That may be an option we should be exploring a little bit as well.
All right, Councillor Chavez.
Your Worship, picked up on a notation. I'm just trying to remember where it was, but I believe there is smaller cogeneration units one being put into Brooks, one in Medicine Hat, and one in Lethbridge. These are smaller prototype, well, not prototypes. These are actual units that's going ahead. I don't have that information at my fingertips, but I do know that those three communities were selected for one of these here generation units.
And might I add to that, Mr. Mayor, they were selected for test plots. They have not actually gone out and built it. They're just being selected for test plots because these are kind of a standalone system. And you are correct, Councillor Strovis, they were selected for test plots to do this. And I happen to agree with our CEO. We as council pulled out of SEWA due to the costs and the rest of it, and the fact we're going nowhere. So if we're going to suggest to council to bring us a report, I think that they need to have some time to prepare that and to look at some of the options that are out there. That should not be a verbal at this council meeting, but at least 2 or 3 down the road, so they have some time to look at some of these other new options that are out there.
Yes, thank you. I wasn't expecting it tonight. It's quite an in-depth thing to look at. I did hear a speaker for SEWA at one of the meetings I've attended in the past month, and they haven't changed since we were on it. Really, they're still in the same holding pattern, it seems like, but they are choosing sites now, which they were 7 years ago as well. So it'd be interesting to see where they're going and what's happening with that and what's out there for energy.
The administration be looking for a motion in that regard to go forward?
Yes, please.
Councillor Bruin?
I would like to make the motion that direct administration to investigate how SEWA is proceeding and how far along they are with their project, and to perhaps look into alternative energy programs with recycling garbage, burning garbage to produce power.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table.
Your Worship.
Councillor Chavez?
I have a problem with Councillor Bruin's motion here. He's requesting that we look into SEWA specifically. Well, we discontinued from SEWA a number of years ago. I think it should be amended just to look at some future generation plans and stay away from SEWA. I mean, we made that decision some time ago.
Councillor Bruin?
They have become active again, and I just wanted to know where they're at, and what opportunities are there, and it's part of looking into the whole energy burning for power.
Councillor Chavez? Councillor Temps?
I happen to agree with Councillor Strovis. We pulled out for a reason due to the fact that it was onerous and that it was very cost prohibitive to the town of Taber, and we were going nowhere. I like the thought, Mr. Councillor Bruin, of looking into alternative waste to energy things and the new future in it, but I don't think that we need to open that door to allow SEWA back in, because we've got out for a reason.
Thank you, Councillor Bruin.
Mr. Mayor, thank you, Mr. Tams. I appreciate what you're saying. I actually was on the committee on SEWA, and it was my recommendation to council at the time to step out of it, just because nothing was happening. But apparently they've chosen 2 sites in Vulcan now. And I think it'd be part of the plan of looking to see if it's economical for us to produce power with garbage, or if SEWA is going to be taking a big chunk of that and we wouldn't be worth our effort.
All right, so you're wishing to stick with your original motion and not accept any amendments? Councillor Brune?
I'd like to stick with my original motion.
All right. Any other questions? Councillor Chavez?
Your worship, if we do look into say, well, perhaps they will ask us to pay for all the years that we opted out in order to get that information. I can't support this motion and I won't.
Maybe as simple as a Google search.
All right. Any other questions arising? All right. Thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? It's carried. Thank you. Councillor Gardner, you had another item?
I did. I'd like to follow up on something that we spoke of at our last joint meeting with the MD last week. And at this time, I'd like to make a motion that we share a copy of our MNP PAC feasibility study with the MD for information purposes only.
All right. Councillor Beckering.
Mr. Mayor, I believe that's been done.
That's correct. It has been. Yes, we did that at the IMDP meeting. Actually, so
very good. Good work.
I think that was discussed, but it was actually discussed that if we're going to make a motion, we would do it at that IMDP meeting. We chose not to make a motion, just agreed to hand it over to them. So we're all good with that.
Okay. Super.
All right. Okay. Anything else arising? Right. With that, there's Mr. Armstrong. You had something?
We're just talking about withdrawing Councillor Garner's motion.
Oh, I see. Okay, sure. All right. Okay.
Yeah.
So
I'm fully prepared to withdraw my motion.
All right. Perfect. Fair enough. Thank you.
Why don't you withdraw that, Councillor?
I just did.
Any other standing item suggestions whatsoever?
Turn up the heat.
Put your coat on.
All right. With that, next is our delegations, which are slated for 5 p.m. So I would just ask for a motion to adjourn until 5 p.m. Councillor Garner?
I can make that motion that we adjourn until 5 p.m.
Motion on the table. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you.
any
Get a motion to reconvene the meeting, please. Councilor Beckering, motion on the table. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Moving on to item number 7, delegations, 7.1 community grant application Headstrong Youth Summit event. Mr. Armfield.
Yeah, before I call the groups up this evening, the first 2 delegations that you have in front of you are requests for support through the community grants. Council puts $25,000 away that's really managed by the Recreation Board. And then when the money is come to the end of that $25,000, that's a decision of the Rec Board. Or if there's not enough people that have applied to come to a $25,000 total, that money then comes to council during the calendar year to provide to organizations that are looking for assistance. And these are the first 2 items that you have as part of your delegations tonight. They are both looking to be included within that community grant application. The first one is a Headstrong Youth Summit, and Marie Hutchison and Riley Beeland are here to make a presentation. Please.
Would you like me to speak in the microphone?
Yes, please. I think you can just pull it down there.
Good evening, everyone. So this year, Headstrong 2020 will be our 4th annual Headstrong event. It originated in Taber in 2016, and after that event, we actually moved to Lethbridge, and it became a regional collaborative service delivery initiative. So we, Horizon School Division, the Family School Liaison Program, partnered with the Regional Collaborative Service Delivery to put on this event. This year's event will be on October 29th. It will run from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. It's for youth ages 14 to 16. So the event is about promoting mental health and reducing stigma around mental health. We invite youth ages 14 to 16 to participate in the all-day event, where they are presented from a keynote speaker regarding their mental health journey and ways that they've coped. And then they go into breakout sessions to get mini mental health journey presentations from other speakers, And after all those speakers, they come back with their groupings from their different schools, and they develop an action plan to bring back to their schools. So it's an initiative that hopefully extends through the year. We do a follow-up in the spring to learn about what each school has done and what's worked, what hasn't worked, ways that we can continue to promote mental health and reduce stigma.
All right, thank you. Any questions arising? Councillor Beckering.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Ladies, this is the 4th year you're doing this. Has council granted a waiver of the rental before?
They have not, because we have not requested a waiver of the rental before. This will be our first year doing it through the Civic Center. Previously, we had it at the church our first year, and then the past 2 years, we did it at a hotel conference room.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A follow-up question, if I may. So why do you need a waiver now? Because it seems to me like this is a Palliser School Division or Horizon School Division school liaison program in conjunction with Alberta Health Services, I imagine, because you're talking about mental health issues in youth.
Right.
So have you approached those entities?
Yes. So it makes up 8% of our total budget. Our total budget is just under $10,000. Through AHS and our other partnerships, we're able to make up the rest of that money. We could look elsewhere for the money, but it would be difficult because we'll have exhausted other options.
Mr. Mayor.
All right, thank you. Any other questions arising? I guess just one question I had. You're looking for a bigger venue because it's that much more popular than it has been in past years?
It has, yes. Because we've partnered with the Regional Collaborative Service Delivery, we promote it to all of Lethbridge school divisions as well. However, our Tabor schools are the ones who participate the most. We see the most attendees from Tabor.
Do you have any idea what kind of numbers you're expecting?
About 500 youth and about 30 to 40 volunteers,
Oh,
including speakers.
That's big, for sure. Perfect. Thank you.
And could I just add something too? Our students that go to these events are very well respected, as are the teachers and support staff that go along with it. And I think that speaks a lot to our community. We get lots of really positive feedback about how our students show up to these events, and I think it's important to say that too.
All right, great. Thank you. Any other questions, Councillor Garner?
I don't have any questions. I'm prepared to make a motion.
All right. Go ahead.
I would make the motion that council approves the community grant application waiver for the Headstrong Youth Summit event organized by Family School Liaison Program for the rental of the auditorium and the meeting rooms in the amount of $610.75.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Councillor Thames?
Mr. Mayor, I'm not speaking against the motion, but I would also like to encourage you, if you guys intend to carry on with this, and council proves that there is a thing through the rec board where you can apply on a yearly basis, I would really encourage you to get your application into them so it can get dealt with by the rec board. If you continue to do this, I'm totally in favor of this, but make sure you use the rec board and the program we have in place, if you don't mind. Thank you.
And just to clarify, I believe that recreation board deadline is October 15th. Is that correct, Mr. Arpo?
It is sometime in October. I don't know exact date in October, but it is prior to October. Yep.
It's on the date.
Great. Thank you. That would be on the website, though, also related to that. Correct?
Yes, absolutely. Just
Okay.
Google Tabor Community Grant Program. Yep.
Perfect. Thank you. All right. Once again, motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 7.2, Community Grant Application, Tabor Cowboy Poetry and Western Music. Mr. Armfield.
Yes, I believe we have Mr. David Woodruff in the room to come up and make a presentation with regards to his request for support.
Yep.
Received the little letter from me, have you? Does anybody have any questions? If it's all understandable, there's no need reinventing the wheel. But if there's going to be some things that may be obvious to me but are not obvious to others, and so is there any questions I can answer?
Yeah, no, this is basically, Mr. Woodruff, just your time to present as you so choose. We do have the information packages, right? But you can present as you like, and normally there's some question and answers beyond that as well.
Okay.
So if you just like to let the information package stand, we could certainly go through the question portion at this stage if you like.
Pardon me?
If you would just like to let your information package stand as presented, we can do that, and just council will have some questions you likely.
As opposed to if I present and you decide to make
Either or. Like I said, this is normally your time. Anybody as a delegation to present initially, and then a question and answer period.
I just, in the interest of time, I didn't want to take any more of
Sure.
your time as possible, but I can. Could I see that?
Yeah.
I really feel like since cowboy poetry has disappeared from Tabor, that we're missing out, and I've been to several gatherings from Kamloops to Maple Creek, Lewistown, Montana to Staveley, and have come up with some ideas and thought that we can reinvent this thing and do it better and have it more sustainable. And with the harvest that we've had, the downturn in the energy industry, we sure need a party. So it's part of our history, and just really the idea of going to the schools and getting the kids involved, the teachers seem to be excited about that. And any time that I can help somebody with music or writing poetry, I think that's a good thing. And so I would like to foster that, and that'll be one of the big differences between what we're going forward trying to do and what has been done in the past. I don't know what more I should say or can say.
All right. If that's the case, we'll open that up to some questions. And Councillor Beckering.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Woodruff, how you doing, David? The Taber Cowboy Poetry and Western Gathering has been held in Taber before, has it not?
About 20 years, I believe.
Yes. How come it's no longer operating?
So they're using it as a fundraiser. And I said, this is the wrong way. Look, it's like farming. You don't go into farming to get rich. What you do is you go into farming to raise the kids so that they can take care of the animals and take care of the responsibility and take care of their parents when they get old, hopefully. And if you can make some money, which a lot do, and I'm all for that, then that's great. Same thing with cowboy poetry. People said the youth are not in it. I go, well, let's get them in it. Let's go to the schools. And I went to some schools, and they said, you're going to have the kids writing and composing. Oh, this is great. And I haven't talked to a lot of A&W and places like that, but I've talked to machinery dealerships, and I'm sure that they're going to be able to kick in something, and it won't be, everybody's got their hand out nowadays. And so I'd like to do it as inobtrusive as possible. And if they have a certificate for a hamburger or something, that probably isn't going to hurt their bottom line, whereas dipping into the till might not be quite so palatable to them. And so the kids motivate them to come up with something. And I mean, once the Domalewski girls left and Wes, Sugden, that's about all the kids that we've had that I remember. But I'd like to just really flood the place with kids and get them going, and even into some music and that. Does that answer your question?
Mayor, not really, but that's okay, Dave. When's the last time you had a cowboy poetry event in Taber?
I think it was about 3 years ago.
Okay, and it was discontinued because of lack of attendance, or basically?
Yeah, they wanted to help fund the museum, which is important, but their money was all going to bring in the Rod Ericksons from northern Idaho. His charge was $500 or something, and there went all the money right there. My idea is to have these people come, those that can and will, sell their tapes and CDs and books, and Maple Creek has a system where they have people open up their homes for billets so that it doesn't cost them. It cost my wife and I $300 to go down to Lewistown, and they chipped in some money for gas. I opened up my envelope. Here's a crisp $100 US bill. Well, that really helped. But last year when I went down, I was able to hang out with a guy who had extra rooms in his house, and it was really nice. And so we're going to see if people want to do that like they do in Maple Creek. A little bit of money for gas is great, and some people who don't have anything to don't have hamburgers that they'll give out to the kids or whatever, they may chip in some money so that we'll have a little bit for gas for these people that come from far away. But hopefully, as painless as possible is what I'd like to do it.
Great, thank you. Councillor Thames.
Yes, Mr. Woodruff, if we as a town council approve this waiver request, are we stepping on the toes of the museum that have always run this cowboy poetry as a fundraiser? Is this separate from what they're doing, or is they're done?
They're doing their projects are elsewhere doing other things, so they don't want to do this. In fact, one of their board members said that they'd be on the board, and then when I went back, they said, well, no. So I think they've stepped away from it. I sure don't want to step on anybody's toes, and I can't think that we're stepping on their toes. I mean, I think I'd like to make an announcement. The Museum Society started this, and it's a good thing, and we're grateful for them getting it going in Taber, and now we're going to take over and keep it going in their memory.
All right.
And in your presentation and answering the questions, you had talked about, that these people come there, sell their music and CDs, and so are we giving you a waiver for a commercial event, or what are we doing? Is this a commercial event or is this a community event?
Well, it's a community event, but if they have CDs or books or whatever to sell, it seems like every gathering I've been to has their store where the performers sell their stuff. I hadn't thought about the commercial aspect of it, like a license, like what you're talking about. I look at this as a performer. I'm sorry. My council experience is 40 years ago, and so I'm not seeing it from your eyes. But if there's a way that they can sell their stuff and it kind of makes some money, it gets their name out there. The same way as I'd hope to get the businesses' names in people's face and the rest of the world to know that Taber's a good place. You can have good family entertainment and forget about this thing about not being able to dance or gather or whatever, the bad press that we got in the past. I'd like to just overcome that with something positive. You know what I mean?
Councilor Chavez.
Your Worship, Mr. Woodruff, how was this funded in previous years? Where did the money come from to put this on in the past?
From Taber?
Yes, here in Taber. How?
I don't know how the Museum Society did it. They charged entrance fees for people to come, so they were getting money there, and I'm not sure where the rest of their funding came from. I mean, I know a couple of the board members, and that's about as much as I know about. I've spent 2 or 3 afternoons in the museum, and that's about as much as I know. Sorry.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions arising? All right. Someone prepared to make a motion? Councilor Firth.
Mr. Mayor, I move the council approves the community grant application waiver for the Taber Cowboy Poetry and Western Music Gathering event for rental of the auditorium and meeting room in the amount of $897.50.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Defeated. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Woodruff. All right. On to item 7.3, My City Care donation. Mr. Armfield.
Yes, and Miss Wind is coming up for our third delegation of the evening. And Miss Angermeyer.
Yes.
Rather stand.
I'm more comfortable standing.
You're welcome to sit if you like, but.
No, that's okay. All right, so we'll get started first off by letting you guys know. So we planted in October, My City Care. We started out by doing a street store, which that is a mobile unit that is filled with used, like gently used clothing to brand new clothing. We were able to set up in 2 locations, so we've done 2 prior to Christmas season. We're able to help 168 individuals with clothing, shoes, toques, jackets, all that kind of stuff. Then we also, so we like to continue to do that obviously once the roads get a little bit better, and then we'll have them come back from Lethbridge and we'll set it up in a different location within Taber. We have also just finished up with the Shop of Wonders. We were able to help out 257 children. This is a nonprofit organization where we base everything on donations, volunteer, all that kind of stuff. So that is the way that we run. So we're also looking forward to coming up in February. We have the Tim Tebow Foundation that has selected us in Taber to put on this big event to celebrate special needs within the community.
So we try to partner up with services, businesses, organizations, things like that, that are able to either sponsor things for us. So it's like limo rides to red carpet to we're just like a dinner, a dance, like things like that. So it's pretty much like a graduation prom night, but it's for 14 and up into adult age, and just kind of celebrate those in the community. This year we got to partner up with the food bank, actually. So that's where I should go back on the Shop of Wonders. We're able to partner up with them, and they kind of gave us and said, here, take the toys. We know how to do baskets. You guys know how to do toys. Here you go. And so we were really able to do that and really bring a lot of great families in, and a lot of families that were the ones that we're donating every year, that their financially they just ended up struggling, and they're the ones that were coming in and using our service this year, which was really, really hard for them to come in. It was very hard for them to come into the door. So that was really, really awesome, actually, things like that. So
just to clarify, Ms. Wynn, the Shop of Wonders was over Christmas, dealing with the Christmas time. The 257 kids was related to the Christmas time, correct?
Yeah.
Just so the rest of council is aware.
Yeah, so we did that within 5 days. So we set it up like a store. And all the things that we do is all community based. Our love for community, it's about community. We want to get as many people involved as we possibly can. And we have a small amount of volunteers that we just have like really big hearts for the community. So, and without support of the community, then it's a little difficult for us to do these jobs in it. So we also have the Cinderella Project coming up in the springtime. So what that is that it's parents that can't afford graduation for their children. So we get people to volunteer their time for hair and makeup. We also do photography. We get photographers in. We do nails to dresses, to suits, to shoes, all that kind of stuff. And it's just ways that we get to connect with the community and engage with them. So then we have that coming up as well. So there's something just to look forward to and to be excited about.
Great. Thank you. Senator Minor, anything to add to that?
I think I'm good so far. I think that was done well. But
All right. Perfect. Thank you. All right. Any questions arising? Councillor Towns.
My City Cares, is that part and parcel of the Victory Church? Does it follow under the umbrella of the Victory Church, or is it a separate entity altogether?
it's separate from the church, but still, a lot of our volunteers are from My Victory Church. Yes.
So one day our hope would to have our own building and to be on our own, but this is just a way that we have some kind of financial backing, obviously through the church, so that we're able to do these things. So we have a room within the church that is for My City Care that is set up with clothing all for any day of the week for those to come in. We have volunteers in there Tuesdays and Thursdays from 9 to 3 that we're able to have, so that if anyone has come in or donations and whatever else and want to speak to us, then we are there.
And the reason I ask that question is because this town of Taber has a great deal of churches within the town, and every church has their needy program or their program to help people out. And I have big concerns if we as council are now going to give your request for a $500 donation to My City Cares, and we have opened up a can of worms for town council that every church and everybody that wants to have a social program is going to be there. So it's not that I don't admire or absolutely appreciate what you're doing, but when we do it through the auspices of one church, we have to really, as council, in my own mind, and the council can make up their own mind, but in my own mind, we have to really watch what we're doing. So I do have some concerns as to being it through one church or the other church, because it bodes really hard for us to make a decision that way. I love what you guys are proposing, but I have a tough time that we're doing it in the auspices of combined with the church. And that's why my question was, are you separate from the church, or have you just partnered with the church for a location right now? So that's really what I want to know. Are you separate, or have you partnered with
separate.
Yeah,
Yes,
you're
we're
a
a separate entity. So our job is not to sit there and preach to them and all that kind of stuff. And that's what I mean. Like, we are absolutely separate. It's just something that we're able to mobilize into the community with.
Until we get our own
support.
building.
Yes.
I understand that these ladies explained this to me over Christmas,
Yeah.
thankfully.
Mm-hmm.
And I see that as a completely separate entity, right? It's Lethbridge that started this for that same kind of need.
And their building's on 5th on 5th.
And for now, the church is a location to be able to attend, to pick up through My City Care for that purpose for people in need, correct?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Thank you. Councillor Stravas.
Worship, I think what these gals are doing here is pretty awesome. But I think there's other organizations in this community that would back and help you more so than the, the town. Like St. Vincent de Paul, and I know that all the preachers in town get together for monthly meetings, and I think if you went that route and met with them, I think you would get more support that way, and you would get further and a lot quicker. I know these groups do very well, 5th on 5th and Lethbridge and different ones, but yeah, for council, we're treading on a fine line here, going down this road, but I give you a lot of admiration for what you're doing, but I would direct you, with the pastors in town and through St. Vincent de Paul, some other organizations that could probably help you out, and you would go further faster, by all means. But thank you for your presentation.
Any other questions? I guess just for me, I think it's great, and I see it as a completely separate entity, as you gals have explained, and I think it's just it's an enhancement of what's going on in Lethbridge already, just carrying over to Tabor. And so, sure, they can ask whoever, I'm sure, but personally, I see this as a very worthwhile thing to support, and I would be speaking in that direction to support some form of donation to help these ladies out with this great cause. Councillor Brun.
Mr. Mayor, I appreciate everything Councillor Strova said here, and I think what you ladies are doing is fantastic, but I think we're crossing the line if we start making donations. It's not our money we're donating, it's the town's money, and I have to side on Joe's opinion with this, but I sure commend you for what you're doing. It's a needed thing in Tabor, but it's not really something for the town to be donating to, but it's a very worthy cause, I believe.
All right, Councillor Thames.
Mr. Mayor, I'm prepared to put a motion on the floor so we can discuss it.
Sure.
Mr. Mayor, I move that council not allocate the funding to this group, but thank the group for their presentation on their organization Encourage initiative within the community, and thank you for the great service that you're providing. And that's my motion.
All right. Any other comments? Councillor Stravas.
Yes, there's, I know some people are involved in the Streets Alive program, the 5th and 5th and whatnot, and I know they have outreach facilities, and I think if you made contact with those people as well, I think you're starting something great here. God, it's tough to be sitting on a fine line here, but I wish you well in this here. But I would call us, and I would certainly give you a hand, in a way as well personally, if you need, with some of those contacts with some of those people in Lethbridge to help back this year and set your organization up for sure. It's great.
All right, thank you. Any other comments? All right, motion on the table. Councillor Beckering.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just like to clarify the motion by Councillor Thames not to accede to some donation. Mr. Armfeld, a negative motion, can that be passed?
Yeah, I'm not aware of that Robert's Rules of Order, but if you are stating that, I'll take it that as the elder statesman here, you know what you're talking about. I suppose then that would go back to the chairperson to decide what to do about that.
That puts us in a difficult dilemma. On one hand, it's positive on what Councillor Thames is suggesting with all the great things you're doing going forward, but on the other hand, it's a negative, not looking to support any funding. So how do you support or not support either one of those? It's two separate
I withdraw the
Basically
motion
motion.
and make two separate motions then? Vote on two motions?
You can do one at a time if you like, sure.
Yes. And I'll make a motion to thank the group for the presentation and their organization's current initiative within the community, and council's sincere thanks for what you're planning. That's my
Just
motion.
clarify, your original motion is withdrawn?
Withdraw.
Just for administrative purposes, good, thank you, okay. All right. Once again, we do have a motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously, all right. If you'd like to make a secondary motion related to the funding possibilities?
It puts me in a really tight spot here. But I'll make the motion that council allocates $500 funding to the My City Cares program. So it's
All right.
not a negative motion. I will tell you that I will vote against it, but I made the motion.
All right, motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Defeated. Sorry, ladies.
That's okay. Thank you so much for
Right.
your. Thank you for your.
Hardest
Thank
motion
you.
you ever made me make in my life, ladies.
Can I ask one question though? I don't know if
Sure.
I'm allowed to do this, but if we were to have our own building, would you guys look at it differently? Would there be a separation there between church? I'm just thinking for the future for this. Just thinking if there is ever a time that we, be like, hey, we should revisit this. Is there a point to, I guess? Or will people always think that we're associated with My City Care, with
Councilor Becker?
Victory?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That to me is a totally different issue, and if that happened to occur, you bet you'd come to council for as a delegation once more, and we'd look at it.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Once again, thank you, ladies, for your presentation. All right. All right, we're on to meeting inquiries. Trevor, Tabor Times. Thank you.
Good. Oh, it's fantastic.
And I just need a motion to move into closed session, please. And also to,
Let's move into closed session.
We would end it up.
you will end it regardless. Okay, fair enough. Okay, motion on the table. Councilor Bruin to move into closed session.
I'll make that motion, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. All right, motion on the table. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Good, thank you. Thanks, everyone.
It's about right now. Put a coat on. Your feet are freezing.